When was it that Christians became so divided? Is it always been like this, or have I just been in one side and been so um, protected by the bubble that I haven't noticed that I'm part of this division? You know, it makes me think. When I was in South Carolina, I was invited to go out there with an Episcopal church to set up a church essentially for there you go, essentially for people in their 20s. I think they were struggling to get new people in, and because I'd done all the worship stuff and been to Soul Survivor, I was involved with St Thomas Crooks, and they kind of invited me out. And one of the things which I saw straight away, as one did 20 years ago, probably still now, was the segregation. Though not legally, it was still cultural. And I thought, well, if we're planting a church, this is the obvious thing we need to challenge, because it's a system that needs challenging. And what does Jesus do? He challenges systems. That was my view, and it still is as a Christian. Now, I went out there and thought, right, how does this work? The church was maybe 1,000 people. Certainly the congregations were huge. And I remember only ever seeing one black person there, or a black lady pushing the wheelchair of an elderly woman. White one. And I thought, wow, how is this going to work? Now, I think we were trying to plant a church maybe in downtown Charleston. I don't remember. Anyway, I realised I was part of the privilege, when I was walking downtown into just shopping, and I don't remember which shop it was or anything, and I was just going into one, and there was a black guy, he must have been in his 60s or 70s, and he didn't make eye contact with me, looked at the ground and said, "After you, sir," and held the door open for me. And I said, no, after you, in my sort of British naive, I can change the world kind of way. He didn't move, and I went through the door. I lost any vision for being there at that point. I was part of the problem. Now, recently, I've had a similar experience where not so much I was the part of the problem, although I can often recognize that I am, and I'm not doing the whole kind of apologizing for who I am thing. I just need to recognize who I am and not take advantage of it. But the time I became the guy holding the door was on a phone call a couple of weeks ago. I was hoping to film with a chap called Simon Gilliboard. He's a self-proclaimed evangelist. And I knew of him because he even spoke at Soul Survivor when I was doing the gap year there. And he's been involved in Burundi, which is the second poorest country in the world. And it was in civil war at the time, I think. And I wanted to speak to him about how do you understand faith? How do you understand God's presence in a country at war? If they're in Peking, it's my dog walking around. She's like, "What boy?" How on earth do you understand God's will, His presence, where is the kingdom of heaven? We're in conflict. I wanted just to ask some really, vulnerable questions. I experienced some of the worst parts of me in Iraq, in Ukraine. I also really experienced the Holy Spirit giving me the right words at the right time. I experienced His peace, I suppose, in a place where there was anything but that. Certainly not shalom in the whole meaning of that word. So I was really encouraged. I think, right, I'll get to Bath, spend a bit of money, won't make it back on YouTube, but for me, this is a valuable conversation. He phones me up 2 days before I'm due to go down to his and said he can't be associated with me. And I just released this video with Rob around homosexuality, what it meant for him being a gay priest. Some of it I found incredibly challenging and really insightful. And what I love doing with these YouTube channels is I'm not looking for the right answer. I'm looking for people's stories. And so I wanted to do the same with Simon. The thing was, he didn't give me the opportunity to talk with him. He just said he couldn't be associated with me, probably because of that video. He asked me, "Are you a post-evangelical?" And I said, "It's not a bookshop." We're not a bookshop. And then I finished up the conversation after talking with him for some time. saying, you know, we're both publicly Christians on this channel on YouTube. If people wanted to persecute Christians, we'd both get it. And yet that seems so different to my experience with Christians today. What is it that you represent? What is it that you need? And what is it that you are building? So quickly looking at those, what is it that you represent? For me, Christianity, I represent Christ. And I do it quite badly most of the time, but that's the job. What do I need? Well, what I need is, I want Christ to dwell in my heart through faith. That's what I need. That's what I want. What am I building? Well, Jesus gives us quite a clear indication that it's kingdom of heaven. And that's within me, that's within the people that I see regularly, and that's in the world. Now, applying that to this conversation I had with Simon, I can almost strike off each of those 3 points in a negative. Right, so quickly looking back at that again, what is it that he represents? Shareholders? He even mentioned trustees in the conversation, that they wouldn't be happy to speak. They wouldn't be happy with him speaking to me. What does he need? Well, he obviously needs cash. He needs support. He needs fundraising, because he doesn't maybe do a regular job. And then what's he building? You can see why I got really frustrated. I'm trying to meet with people because I'm trying to do those 3 things all the time. And I'm so inspired. I was really inspired by Rob as he was talking about, what he's building. There's so much just people first stuff he was talking about. The stories he could just, and we went for lunch afterwards. And actually, just for an info, the ad revenue that that video provided paid for his glass of wine. That's all. So if you fancy, throwing me a $5, it does really help. I didn't want to ask for that, but I've kind of got to the point where it would be nice if I could pay my guests and my friends lunch out of these videos. So if you want to be part of that, that'd be awesome. And maybe I could say this wine was due to. But anyway, I've got really frustrated again. I can't believe how divided we are. It's not as if I'm subscribing to something entirely different to the church, the Christianity that Simon does. I'm not sort of saying, well, this is I'm bringing in this aspect. Robert Smith really had a point. I'm not doing that. Or actually, what we need to do is think about the aliens. I'm not doing that in my faith, and my faith is rooted in the Bible. But why are we so divided? We've got to be the church that says to everyone, we're not divided, as society increasingly does, as communities are increasingly divided. Can't we be the last bastion of being together, of being community, of being family, of being a body, of being a marriage? I'm so fed up with it, and I don't know. I'll continue making these videos because I'm passionate about talking about those 3 points, but I was really frustrated back then. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'll be making more of these. Thank you.